Hey guys, today I'm taking you through a haircut tutorial. It'll be a number 1.5 with the grain and a skin fade. Now in this tutorial, I'm going to be focused on the method, which will be no guidelines other than the original skin line. This method is a great one to learn. It's hard to master, but once you master it, what you'll find is your haircuts will become easier and quicker. So come along with me as I take you through an in-depth tutorial showing you how to use this method. While you're watching this video, if you like what you see and hear, then don't forget to click subscribe and hit that bell notification so you can be notified every time that I put out a video. Let's get into it. All right, so I'm gonna start off by doing a number 1.5, close 1.5, close. A basic thing you need to understand first is what an open blade is and what a closed blade is. This is an open blade, this is a closed blade. A closed blade is when the lever on the side of the clipper is up, meaning that it's closed. The back blade and the front blade meet together, meaning it's closed. When it's down at the bottom of the clipper, it is an open blade. The open blade is slightly higher than the closed blade. When it's closed, it's at its lowest. When it's open, it's a little bit higher. So even with the gauges, you can have a closed 1.5, which means it's at its lowest at a 1.5, and an open 1.5, which means it's at its highest at the 1.5. So yeah, when I'll be using these things while I'm going along. So listen and pay attention. We start off doing an open 1.5 with the grain. Comb out the client's hair and make sure to comb it in the direction it's going in and cut in that same direction. Now, this is the first time I'm cutting this client's hair. So everything I'm doing is new. This is not rehearsed. This is not like I know what's going on with his hair. It's the first time I met him, first time I'm cutting his hair. I now close the lever and go with the grain, just bringing it down to the desired level. I do this all around. What is important when you're cutting a client's hair is always to comb it out and look at the client's hair. Now, I didn't show you this, so I'm telling you now that I scoped all of his hair. So I could see there's some lighter areas. So when I'm cutting his hair, I'm like, okay, because I know that area is slightly lighter, I'm going to avoid it. Because the mistake that barbers make is they just go through a client's hair with the gauge that they're using on the rest of the hair. And it's like, actually, if there's a particular area that's slightly lighter, you want to avoid it because you want to grow that area as much as possible. You want to nurture it. You want to cut around it. It's just a big mistake that I see barbers make so often. And you just need to understand that you are causing clients to go bald earlier than they need to. And you're ruining a lot of clients' hair just because you're not watching and not observing and actually just paying attention to their hair. So as soon as I saw his hair, I was like, okay, cool. It might be that it's slightly lighter here. So when I cut it, what I'm doing is I cut here, go around it. I cut there, go around it. I come to it, I flick up and go, and I move up before I even get to it, just to avoid that area. So I cut all around it. It's just about maintaining what is there. But what a lot of barbers will do is they'll cut the area, they'll cut all the hair off, and then they'll add enhancements. And then it's like, well, why are you cutting off the hair, then adding enhancements to cover up what you just done? You could have just avoided that area, cut around it, and left as much hair possible from his natural hair there, instead of using enhancements to cover it up. And when the enhancements go and disappear in a few days, then suddenly his hair's looking worse than before he got a haircut. So it's important, guys, sculpt the hair, look at what's going on, avoid the light areas, cut the dark areas. So I comb out his hair and I'm gonna put a skin line in. Now I'm gonna put the skin line in where the fade will end. Wherever you put the skin line in, that's where the fade will end because there'll be 0 underneath it. So this is where the fade will end in this haircut. If you do the skin line lower, the fade will end down here. If you do the skin line up high, then the fade will end up there. So dependent wherever you put that skin line in will determine how long that fade will be, how short it will be, and where that fade will end. So it really just tells you what type of fade you're gonna do, whether it's high fade, low fade, medium fade. We're just gonna do the kind of like a mid fade here. Right now, I'm just going over it to make it even more skin because these trimmers that I'm using right now are closely set. So there's 0 gap. So it gets it even more skin than the ones I was using previously. All right, so first of all, what you need to do when you're fading with no guidelines is you create your invisible line. So the first invisible line will be at the top where you're not going to go above. Now, why it's important is because if you do not set an invisible line, what you'll end up doing is just fading, then suddenly you find yourself up here fading, and he's got a Mohican. I always say it, he doesn't want a Mohican, he just wants to fade. So we need to make sure that the fade stays on the side of the client's head. So I'm like, okay, I look at his head, I say, okay, here is my invisible line. So I'm going to go up to it and flick out on that invisible line. And what's also important is understanding that you're fading. So whenever you fade and you go up and flick through, it's going to go a little bit higher than you expect. So your invisible line, wherever you see the line where you shouldn't go above, you should be like, okay, cool, there's the line I don't want to go above. Bring that line a little bit lower so that you can give yourself some space to go through and flick out. Because if it's up there and you want to make sure you're staying beneath that, when you go through it and flick out, you're going to go a little bit higher. So my invisible line is here. So 1.5, close 1.5. I go up to it and flick out, up to it and flick out, up to it and flick out, up to it and flick out. Comb it out, then we move to the next stage. So a fade is going from one level to another, but it needs to be smooth and gradual. So my first invisible line was there. My next invisible line is going to be here. What I'm going to do is take the number one first of all, because I always talk about prepping the area and just flatten that area. This is what I always do. Flatten it. Number one, flatten the area. Then I flip it around, and then I always start with the open blade. So this is the open one. With the 1.5 beforehand, I just went straight with the closed one. But realistically, what I should have done with you guys to see should have been the open 1.5, then the closed 1.5. Then when I'm dropping down, the open number one, then the closed number one, then drop down, and I may use the 0.5 gauge or I may not. I'll see how I feel. First invisible line, second invisible line now. Open number one, go up to it and flick out. Go up to it and flick out, go up to it and flick out, go up to it and flick out. Then go through again, going the other way, go up to it and flick out. What you may see is I'm going very slow, but I'm using correct clipper strokes. This means that I'm making sure that the bristles of the gauge is going through the grains of his hair. That way you don't have to do too much. What a lot of people do is this. They love doing all of this and they feel like they're moving quick because they're doing all of this, and it's not really the case. They're just doing a lot of nothing. It's better to just go through, concentrated, flick out. Go through, flick out, go through and flick out. Then I close the lever, then the same place, I go to the same place and flick out. Follow this technique, guys, and trust me, even if you don't know what you're doing, keep practicing it and you'll see that your haircuts become quicker and easier. Combing out. Now, I'm gonna drop down. The first invisible line was up there. The second invisible line was there. My third invisible line is here. And for those which always ask me about the 0.5 gauge, because I never really use it, today I'm gonna use it for this tutorial so you guys can see. So my next invisible line is gonna be there. I'm gonna go up to it and flick out. Sorry, it's the open 0.5 gauge. Go up to it and flick out. I'm using correct clipper strokes. Comb it out. Now I'll close the lever. Now what I'd say is, with the 0.5 gauge, the bristles are very weak. So if you're zero gapped, what will happen is it'll keep rubbing against it and making these bristles like weaken and break easy. So close the lever fully and then just open it slightly so it's not rubbing against it. Then go to the same place, go up through the skin line and flick out. Do this a number of times till you feel like there's not that much hair coming off anymore. Then we drop down. First invisible line was there. The second invisible line was there. My third invisible line was there. Now my fourth invisible line is going to be slightly lower here, because the whole thing with the fade is going to gradually fade it out. So the higher level was up here, then a slightly lower level was there, then the slightly lower level was there. Now the lower level I'm going to be using right now is going to be down here. So we create a fade. But this is just an open blade by itself now. So I'm going to be going to here and flicking out. Go through to the invisible line and flick out. make sure to always be flicking out. If you don't flick out, what you'll end up doing is this, and you end up creating more lines because you're just stopping. So you need to make sure that you flick out. Now at this part, you're going to now start slowly reducing the lever. So reduce the lever slightly, then drop down a little bit lower. Go to it and flick out. Correct clipper strokes. Do this a number of times. Close the lever a little bit more and come down slightly lower. So you can see every time I close the lever, every time I drop down a gauge, every time I drop down a level, I'm coming down lower to the skin line. So go through, flick out. And you're seeing it live, it's fading, and I'm not putting massively any effort into it at all. I'm not really putting any effort into it at all. I'm just following the process. Close the lever a little bit more, and now I'm literally gonna just hit the skin line and flick out. So the skin line is here, so I'm gonna go from underneath the skin line, touch that skin line and flick out. So it's almost like you're just lifting up that skin line to fade it out. Now we have the fade. It was easy and simple by just following the method and the technique. Now you may be looking at the fade saying, well, it looks a little bit heavier there. Or looking at parts of the fade thinking, that could be smoother. That's fine. I do all of that in the refining stages. When you are cutting someone's hair, what is best you do is get through the haircut and then at the end, go over it. Because what happens is if you try and perfect any area, you spend 10, 15 minutes in one area and you get it perfect, but then you spin the client and it's like, oh, I've got all of this work to do. So it's easier just to get through the haircut, then at the end with fresh eyes, go over whatever you can do to make it be improved. And that's why I'm gonna leave it as it is there, move to the back and the other side, get through it and then come back at the end. Now, right before I go on to do the rest of it, I just wanna explain to you what I did here so you understand the breakdown properly. I started from one level and I faded it out to skin. Now, what I call this is almost like a staircase method. When you're cutting someone's hair and you don't want to use any guidelines other than the original skin line, just understand this. We're going to go from one level down to another level. It's like a staircase. If you're on a staircase and it has, let's say, 5 steps, if you want to get from step 5 down to 0, the smoothest way to go down that staircase would be going down one step at a time. It's the same thing with fading. When you're fading, you want to go down one step at a time. So when you're on staircase number 5 at the top, when you drop down one, you're going down a level to number 4. So if you're going to drop down to gauge number 3, you're also going to come down another level. If you're going to drop down to gauge number 2, come down another step. Gauge number 1, come down another step. Remember that. So when you're fading, you're like, okay, I'm up here with number 2 as example. I go up to it, number 2, using it number 2. I'm gonna come down one step. Drop down a gauge, 1.5. Go to it, fade, 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 fade. Come down the staircase, another level. To the number 1, go to it, fade, fade, fade. Drop down, 0.5 gauge, fade, fade, fade. Drop down the open blade by itself, fade, fade, fade. So every single time that you drop down a gauge, you should also be coming down lower on the client's hair until you're actually just fading out the skin line. And that's the method. And the key thing in this fade is make sure to flick out. You should always flick out anyway, but make sure you flick out because when you flick out, it helps to fade. And if you don't flick out and you keep going and stopping, you end up creating more lines. So right now, I finished fading his whole hair. Did this other side very quickly. There's parts of this fade that can really improve, and there's a part of me that really wants to kind of go over it right now, but I'm just saying to myself, stop, follow the process, move on to the beard, do the beard, shape him up, and then come back at the end. I know it's the right way, but even though I know this and I teach this, I always still have the urge just to finish it because I'll look at stuff and I'll be like, but there's a little bit of a line there. Let's just take it out right now. And I have to stop myself from doing it. So I'm saying it to you guys so you know that even though I teach it, I experience exactly the same thing as you guys. But anyway, let's get into the beard right now. This is not a beard tutorial, so I'm just gonna get through the beard. Then I'll get onto the shape up and I'll talk a bit about the shape up with you guys, and then we'll talk about refining at the end. First of all, to fade out a beard, we've got to find out what level this is. So this is the number 2 here. So what we're gonna do is drop down the gauge and work out where you want this fade to start. Because obviously the fade's gonna end up here, but it's gonna start wherever you choose to. The fade could start here, the fade could start here. So let's just say I'm gonna make the fade start here. So what I do is, important, take the 1.5, close 1.5, go through, and where I want the fade to start, go to it and just flick out. Just follow this method for fading out beards. A lot of people struggle fading out beards. This should make it easier. So go through, flat on his head, go through and just flick out. Now I drop down to the open one. Same thing. I want the fade to start from there. I'm just gonna go up a little bit with a 1.5, go to that place there and just flick out. So flat on his face and then flick out. Close the lever and do exactly the same thing to the same place and flick out. What I'm doing right now is trying to create a natural blend there and trying to get this area as flat as possible, because it'll be a lot easier to fade out once it's flat. And you'll see what I mean. So same thing. So right now, this area here is the number 1. What I'm gonna do from here is, just above that area, I'm going to get the 1.5. I'm just gonna, where it's flat and where it's number 1, going against the grain now, go from underneath it, and just go through all the way. And now with the number 1, open 1, go up a little bit, and just go the whole way through. Close the lever from the same place. Now with the open blade by itself, come up a little bit and go through. Close the lever a little bit, come up a little bit further, go through. Close the lever a little bit more, go up a little bit further, and now we fade it out the top. Now this is just a basic blend, guys, here. We can make this blend more harsh, we can make it deeper, we can make it lower, but this is just basically how you blend out a beard. After you've blended it out, then you can look at it and say, okay, and sometimes clients see lemon, and sometimes clients will say, do you know what, can you bring the fade a little bit lower? And I'll say, okay, no problem. So I can come to this area here, because you basically want this area to be lighter because they want the fade to stand out a lot more. You come to this area here, I'll be like, okay, let's just take down this area a little bit more with the number 1. Just so this fade will be a bit lighter in this area, and that means the fade will stand out more. And literally, once you've done the original blend, you can alter it by saying, okay, let's take down this area, or let's bring the fade down here a little bit more, or whatever you want to. But use that basic technique and method, and that's a way to fade out a beard. Now, this isn't a beard tutorial, but since we're doing the beard, I thought I'd just show you a little something so you know you've got like a full idea of how to do the whole haircut. Now, after I've blended it, do the other side, shape them up now, and what you'll see is, once you shape up your client, all the time, you're gonna have to go over the fade again. Trust me, because once you shape it up, you look at it and say, okay, this area is a bit patchy, I need to do this, I need to do that. That's just natural. I'm gonna do the other side now, then I'm gonna shape them up. Now, what I'd say with beards, well, first of all, you've got to ask your client, which I haven't asked my client, is, do you want it to be a high line?
Oh, yeah.
So my client says he wants it as high as possible, which technically doesn't always mean as high as possible, because if you say do it up there, he's probably gonna say no, but he just means a highest point that, yeah. But just make sure you do that brief little consultation with your client. Just say, look, where do you want the line? Is there a particular shape that you want? What are you trying to achieve with the beard, and so on. Just, it could take all of 30 seconds, maybe even less. All right, with the shape up, first of all, I'm just going to flatten the area here, because what I do is whenever I shape up, you wouldn't have known this, but at the beginning of the haircut, when I'm fading, you'll notice that I never touch this area at all. I left here heavy, and the reason why is because at the end of the shape, at the end of the haircut, when it came time to shaping him up, I was like, okay, I want to keep as much hair there as possible so that I've got a lot to work with. Because what a lot of barbers end up doing is they just end up fade the whole line out, then come shape up the client, and then this line is not prominent anymore. Or they put enhancements to fill it in. And I'm like, well, actually, just keep as much hair there as possible, first of all, because what you want to do is keep your hair a little bit heavier. So when I shape him up, I get a more prominent line, because the more hair that is there, the stronger that line will be and the more that line will stand out. So this is just a basic natural method of making a haircut and a shape up stand out more. So now I've left it heavy. Now I'm like, okay, I can bring it down a little bit. Look, just a 1.5 with the grain, just flattening it just a little bit. And same thing with the front here. What I'm doing with the front is, look, it's a little bit lighter there, so I'm avoiding that area. I'm gonna flatten this area here. Just working around it. And remember this, guys, this is the first time I'm meeting him, the first time I've ever cut him. So this is not even like, oh, I know exactly what I'm doing because I've made mistakes on him before and now, you know, I know how to get around it. No, this is the first time, so I'm meeting him same time as you. So with the shape up, sideline I'm gonna start with one place here and go up in a straight line. Then on the front, start here and go across in a straight line to meet the sideline. All right, first of all, I start off at the bottom of the sideline. I press down and pull away from the hairline, and I just go up in a straight line. It may seem obvious to go up in a straight line, but I have seen people doing this. Press down, they pull all the way out, they come back and they start doing over here, and they're touching over there, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, they want straight lines. So start off in one place, little touches, and go up in a straight line. Then come back down in a straight line, doing little touches. Now from the front. Now, so that you guys understand, he has got his hair, which is straight, and when you got the straighter your hair is, the more of a fringe you can actually have. So you can see this part is hanging over his actual hairline. So when I'm going to cut back to there, some of you might be like, oh, are you pulling his hairline back? No, if you actually look, this is just hair that's hanging over. Also, we're not going to do a thing where we press down here, shape up there, shape up here, shape up there. No, we're going to create a straight line coming from the middle, going straight across to meet this sideline here. So press down and pull away from the hairline, and keep pressing down, pulling away from the hairline, going across in a straight line. Now on this first round, as you can see it doesn't have to be the sharpest. I always say that. Just get something to go off. So I'm gonna make this line sharper, I'm gonna make the angles better, I'm gonna make it cleaner. But right now, when I look at it, I've got something to go off. So now when I comb it out and I go over it again, I can make these lines cleaner, I can make these angles sharper. But from starting, I've got the angle that I actually want, which is around a 87 degrees angle, which is what I generally always go for. So that means that this line will slightly come forward, this will come straight across. It's just the angle that I think suits better. But anyway, let me continue. Comb it out. And now what I'm actually doing is I'm actually cutting in slightly more than what I did before, but it's ever so slightly. Not on the sideline, to be honest, but more so on that front line. Because I always feel like the first round is just to gauge what the shape up is like and just to see what you're working with. You can see already that it's looking cleaner. And from this point, you can keep combing it out. And if you just literally scratch the edges each time, what you'll do for the shape up is make the shape up cleaner. You'll also make the shape up stand out more, and you'll make the shape up last longer. Because what happens a lot of times is people go over a shape up, they may do one round, maybe two tops, and then it looks clean in the chair, but then the client goes home and has a shower or sweats or goes running or plays football, something along these lines, right? And then everything's out of place. And it's just because you just didn't do enough rounds. You need to make sure that you comb out the client's hair and run over that shape up a number of times, making sure to comb it out so that when he goes home and he combs out his hair or showers, washes his hair, whatever he does, it still sits in that same place that you shaped it up in. Now, I want to go over here a little bit more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the other side, which will be a similar thing, matching it up, then come back over it for one more round. I've shaped him up. I'm going to kind of now balance it out a little bit. So where it's slightly lighter here, I'm just going to fade around it to bring it down so it just blends in a little bit better. And this is all part of the shape up process. So the shape up isn't literally just you picking up your trimmers and creating a line. It's everything you do around the shape up, everything you do to make that shape up look good. It's me tapering the front of his hair slightly. It's me reducing the hair all around here. It's me leaving it heavier, more hair on this area so that the hair stands out more. All of that is part of the shape up process. I know a lot of people would just think, oh, the shape up just picking up the trimmer and creating lines. No, it's not. That's one element of it. Now I've blended it, guys, in, and I'm happier with, like, you know, the level of all the hair around it, except for this one area. I can make it a little bit lighter. Now I'm going to go over the shape up again. Also, what I'm doing slightly in these corners are, I'm slightly just picking them up because they were dropping a little bit. And I wanted these hairlines to just go straight, like follow straight across instead of them coming down. I'll give you some advice, guys, as well. Obviously, this is dependent on every client because every client is different and every client wants something different. So it's really down to them and the shapes that they like. There may be shapes that you like and you think suit a client better. And I've had that so many times with clients. But when a client's in the chair, they're like, oh no, I just like it like this. And you're here to serve them, so you do what they want. But if you have got kind of like free range to do what you want, and you know, you've got an idea of what you think looks good and the shape that look good, understand that you're here to shape up a client. Because there are many people which are scared to touch the hairline. There are so much people which are kind of like, I'm not going to touch the hairline. And I'm like, well, the client didn't come in here to have his hairline not touched. He knows he's getting a shape up. So he knows you're going to be touching his hairline. So you don't have to be doing anything crazy where you're going like super back, but like sculpt a hairline, get that hairline looking straight, get some good angles on it. I may go over his shape up again right at the end, but right now I'm kind of happy with it. He's happy with it as it is as well. Now I'm just going to go over the fade and refine the fade. And then once I refine the fade, I may look at the shape up again and say, maybe I can touch it a little bit to make it cleaner, sharper. Maybe that angle's a bit off, whatever it is. But the whole goal is don't spend too much time on any area because you end up messing it up. You end up doing too much. Your vision gets blurry, you get flustered, and it's just not good. So it's good to know when to stop and move on and come back with fresh eyes. What I'm doing right now is called refining. I've gone through the process, I faded it, but what you'll find is there's still areas and things that just could be improved about the haircut. So this haircut in particular is, I left a bit of a line there. I could still see like a lip. It wasn't faded smooth enough. But when I've come back now at the end to go over it, it's a lot easier for me to fix these mistakes. Not mistakes, they're not mistakes. They're just things that could be improved, should I say. It's not a mistake. A mistake is when something's gone wrong. Just leaving like a line in someone's hair, that's not a mistake. Leaving it a bit blotchy is not a mistake. That's just something that could be improved. So refining is just improving the haircut. So I look around at the haircut, you step back at it, step back from the haircut, look at it and just say what could be improved. And it might be, oh, I can still see a little bit of a line there. So you just touch that line. It could be the blend here could be better. So I take the number 1 and I reduce this area. Ultimately, and I've said this so many times, refining is just reducing the hair. The question is, what level are you going to reduce it to? But whatever you do, whatever problem there is in a haircut, when it comes to the fade, the way to improve that fade is to reduce the hair. So right now, if it's heavy here, I need to reduce the hair there. It's just about what level am I reducing it to. If there's a line here, with a closed blade, no gauge on it, I need to reduce the hair in that area. If right here, I can see a little bit of a blotch here, where it's a little bit not, there's a little bit heavier hair there, I need to reduce the hair there to lighten it up to match up with everything else. Whatever you do in refining, you're just reducing hair. You just need to work out what level you're reducing it to. And that's why I always think it's just best start with a high level and then just go down. Then you'll get there. So even if you're like, I don't know what level to use here. If I use a number 3 and nothing comes off, I drop down to a number 2, nothing comes off. I drop down to a 1.5, nothing comes off. Then I go to a number 1 and then something comes off and it makes it smoother. I got there. So even if you don't fully know exactly what level to use, just start higher and keep going on until it starts scratching that area a little bit, and then you'll see it smoother. Now, hopefully on the camera, you guys can see that the fade is looking smoother from what I'm doing. And I've already spent like a minute, 2 minutes. And if I wasn't talking, to be honest, this would be a lot quicker. Because when I'm doing like tutorials and talking, I have to slow it down and I have to work on different angles to make sure that you guys can see what I'm doing and you guys can understand what I'm doing. But when you do this, guys, in real life, it would be even quicker. But at least what's good about this tutorial is that you could actually watch this tutorial while you were doing someone else's hair and go through the process watching it side by side. All right, so now I'm just moving on to this top. I'm going over the top again. This is now the open one. I know I used the 1.5 before, but I'm not pressing down hard. I'm just scraping the top. And the reason why I'm scraping the top is because I can see hairs just standing up and I just want to smooth it out. Now I'm just going to move around, just refining all of his head, just all around the back, the sides, everywhere. The other side, should I say. There you have it. A skin fade tutorial using no guidelines. This is one of the best methods to use if you want to learn how to fade quickly and easy. It starts off hard, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, please click subscribe and click that bell notification so you can be notified every time I put a video out. If there's any videos you want me to do, let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to get around to it. You've been in a cut with SliderCuts.